So Brandy, a very interesting thing about you is that you have a personal connection with organ donation and transplantation because you yourself are a two-time separate event transplant recipient, liver and kidney. Can you
Yes.
take us back to the beginning of your story and just tell us how it all started?
Yeah, so in grade 12, I was showing symptoms that kind of mimicked arthritis. I'd have really bad joint inflammation, and I'd be at a party somewhere in like some small town Sask, but it would have to end up sitting in a friend's car because I couldn't move my joints, and it was really quite painful. So kind of through the last half of grade 12, I was 17 and just kind of like not really feeling great. And so you start your workup and your blood work. So kind of long story short, 2 weeks after graduation, I was finally diagnosed with autoimmune hepatitis, which is a rare liver disease. And this disease, it's essentially like you've almost had a transplant where your immune system doesn't think your liver is its own and it starts attacking it. So pretty much from day one, you're on immunosuppression, trying to, trick your body into thinking, no, that liver's good, leave it alone, don't touch it. So that was when I was 17, summer of 2001. And so basically the treatment for that is, immunosuppression, steroids. And for a lot of people, your disease can go into remission, and you're good to go. No transplant. A transplant is more the last ditch resort if you don't respond to medication. And that was the case for me. But I will say from 21 to 20 or to when I was 25 was when I had the transplant. It was a lot. It was, you're getting your stomach drained because you build ascites. And then, of course, as all these things are happening, your kidneys are also taking, a big hit. Your liver and your kidney, they do so much for your body from, filtering toxins and metabolizing things that you eat or medication that is put into your body. So these two, as they're trying to protect my liver, your kidneys will sometimes get the brunt of the bad stuff, which, at that point, there's no dialysis for liver failure. They're basically doing all they can is to try to keep you alive, and well enough that will be a candidate for the liver transplant list. So I eventually went on the list in October of 2008. It's constantly kind of going up and down on the list, and eventually, I got my call. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was sleeping and my mom came in and she was shaking me awake. She's like, Brandy, you got a liver. And of course, when you're first like abruptly awake and you're like, Mom, get out of here. But then I was like, oh, I have a liver. And then, so we didn't have a lot of time to get to Edmonton. We kind of packed up quickly, went to the airport, and plane there, cab ride there, and ended up in Edmonton that day and wheeled in at 4:30. And so that's kind of the quick story of how the liver transplant came to be. Now, of course, when I had the transplant, liver transplants are done in Edmonton, Alberta, if you're from Saskatchewan. So it went really well. There were some complications that lasted almost the entire year. So from March of 2009 to December of 2009, again, lots of just like little things that they were working out with medication. And unfortunately, my kidneys really had taken a hit and they weren't really responding and coming back. So at the end of 2009, they did let me know that, hey, your kidney function is at 26%. You will need to have a kidney transplant like within the next 10 years. That was the time frame they gave me. And so I'm lucky in the sense that I knew it was going to happen. I was on dialysis for 4.5 years, and you get to see a lot of different people come into the unit. Some people that knew that they were going to be there, some that like just over the weekend, their kidneys failed and they showed up there. And that's a really tough mental undertaking to just all of a sudden you're healthy to all of a sudden you're into dialysis. So I was lucky in the sense that I got to mentally prepare for it. And also, whether I wanted it or not, I have an intense knowledge of the medical system, transplant process, medications. I mean, I know all of it. Yes, came out of liver with 26% function. It was 2009. It took me about a year to recover. I was able to go back to school where I finished my graphic design. I had taken 3 years prior. Even on my resume, it actually says, like work, school, life hiccup, which will be a liver transplant, and then work, school, and then kidney transplant. Like I listed it on there. Exactly. I wasn't backpacking in Europe, as my mother wanted me to say. I was in the hospital. So I was able to finish my graphic design career, and that I did 2 years in Winnipeg and came back and started my career. I'm always talking with my nephrologist, and he's like, okay, Brandy, whenever you're ready to tap out, you just kind of let me know. You can't start dialysis until you're under 15% kidney function. At that time, I was at 6%, and, still working full time and just like, not wanting to bite that bullet. And then eventually I was just sitting at work one day and I was like, yeah, it's time. I'm like, I haven't been feeling great. And so I walked out and I made the call and I started dialysis the next day. So that's
hemodialysis, is that right?
Hemodialysis, yep, at the Regina General Hospital here in Regina, yeah.
How many days a week did you go initially?
I had always gone 3 days a week and was always hooked up for 3.5 hours. And yeah, that was my reality for 4.5 years. And that's a really long time.
Canadians afflicted by various illnesses depend on organ and tissue donation to survive. In fact, 76% of Canadians waiting for an organ transplant are waiting for a kidney.